Hey everybody, so let's talk about the house fairies, the great many beings who live beside you, those who live in your plants, live in your walls, live in the energetic space that exists around you. You may believe that the air is empty, that there aren't things that you can't see around you, but as you wake, as you begin to feel energy, as you begin to see and experience other beings, you'll begin to notice things that live right beside you in your home far more than most people would believe. They live in your plants, they live in your walls, your attics, your closets, all kinds of different places, and very, very friendly beings. House fairies, house fae, house creatures, house, denizens, the population around you. I've almost, I can't even think of a situation where I've had something living beside me that was in a bad mentality. Sometimes they can get fussy if you don't clean your space. There are beings called brownies, and brownies are different types of creatures who can range from in many different sizes, from very small to about 2 feet tall. I haven't met many too much taller than a couple feet tall who call themselves a brownie. And brownies really like clean homes. They like things to be orderly and neat. They like the energy of the home to be calm and peaceful. And so when that's not the case, they can get upset. The key is when you have a being living beside you who's upset is to acknowledge that it's living beside you, to acknowledge that it's there, that it is with you, that it exists. And we do that through offerings. So in the last video series, we talked about offerings and creating an offering space, whether outside or inside. One of the things I want you to do this week is to create a space inside, specifically for the house fae. And this is to help with building your acknowledgement of their existence, building your awareness, and telling them, hey, we see you, we understand you. You might not see them physically, but you see them in the sense that you understand they're real. You understand they exist. And so building an offering space to honor these beings so they have a place to go where they can feel understood and see that you're putting in effort to create energy around perceiving them. And so brownies are one of the very many beings that I experience. Again, very small, sometimes mousy little people. Sometimes they're 2 feet tall, three, maybe hip height on me. So maybe up to close to 3 feet tall, depending on the type of brownie. They like very clean spaces. In old lore, old Irish lore, Celtic lore, they were often described as beings who came in and cleaned the house. They would take care of the horse stables, they would clean the house, things would magically be tidied up after people went to bed. They would go to bed, they would come downstairs, and all of a sudden the rooms would be swept, the dishes would be put away, things would be in their orderly place. And brownies, from my experience, don't necessarily physically clean up our stuff, but will nudge things around, will move some things. They like to hide stuff from time to time if they're being a little mischievous and trying to get your attention. They'll definitely hide things if you're not paying attention to them. If you're creating a negative energy space, they'll be a little more mischievous because they're in that energy too of being mischievous if the energy is more negative in general. And so there are great many different types of fae that live beside us. We can find them in our potted plants, for example. I've often seen pixies and sprites, and pixies and sprites can be a variety of different beings as well. Those are just labels we use. Brownies is a label, pixie, sprite. Sprites, when I express that description, excuse me, when I use that description, they appear to me as tiny balls of light. A lot of people describe them as orbs when the orb actually has a tiny, tiny little being inside of it. And the orb is the energy of that being, the energy experience. And their physical experience is inside, and we often can't see it. All we see is a little dot of bright light moving around. And so you often see those by plants. Pixies are a little bit bigger. I usually like to say pixies are a few inches tall when I experience them. Some of them have wings and they fly around. They have very human like appearances and very mischievous, very playful, tie shoes together. They'll flick ears, they'll pull the tails of cats, chase animals around, those types of things. And then there are some of the bigger brownies and things that move through the house and other beings who come and go. I've had angels come who were angelic in nature, but more of a fae energy, more of a fairy type of angel. And they would take up camp and live in the plants, in the potted plants. I've had little mouse people that Caroline is one of the mouse people that I knew from New Mexico when I was living in an apartment, and she traveled home with me and brought her family with her. There were four of them, I believe, if I remember right. And I brought them home and to the apartment, and they stayed with me for about a year. And they went and built a little house inside a vine. I had a big vine that was taller than me. I'm over 6 foot tall. I'm 6'2". The vine was taller than me, had a massive pot, and Caroline and her family went and lived in that space of the apartment. And then there are those like Beatrice at my mom's. Beatrice is a brownie. She's a little mousy person, maybe an inch or two tall, very, very small. And she met me while I was at my mom's one day. She came down and slid down part of the wall, introduced herself, and we started talking. And I found out that they lived upstairs in an office that my parents didn't use. They very rarely use it, and so it was kind of like a safe place for them to hide in the cabinetry. And when I would come over, Beatrice would come down, and if I stayed long, she would often come hop on my shoulder and we'd walk out to the woods. I'd take her out to the woods and she'd collect little herbs and different things and take them back when we went back in. So there are little people living all over your house. Some of those beings might be called goblins even. There are goblins and gnomes and little elves, elven people, pointed ears, different types of fae, what we would call fairy, living among us in places that we don't normally think of as a space that you might live in. Again, potted plants, closets. A lot of them will hide in closets. They'll even have energy open doorways, portals to other worlds where they can pass in and out in through those places and appear in your space. And this is nothing to be worried about, but most people, other than this space I'm in now, every space that I've lived in has had a lot of fae living beside me, whether it's outside and they're coming in, or they're living in the walls or the closets or the attics. Pretty much everywhere I've been, I've had a very good relationship with the house spirits, the house fairies, because they're very real. And I make an effort to engage with them, to talk to them. I speak to them out loud. I act as though they're there, even if I can't see them. I give them offerings to help them understand I'm trying to connect and work with them. I bring gifts and different things like offerings, but I'll bring things from outside, maybe create a fairy house. When Doug moved in, the juniper gnome, and became one of my house fae, I created a spot specifically for Doug because I could see him and talk to him. So he had his own space that had sand in it from the desert and stones and cactuses and things of that nature, and he would stay there, and that was his kind of his home of sorts. And so you can do artwork, You can draw for them, make food for them. You can do all kinds of things. The key is to acknowledge them. If you acknowledge them, you'll begin to develop more of an understanding that they are there and a connection to them. And they'll also show you signs too. They might leave feathers, they might leave crystals, they might clean something up. You might even see footprints. You might see footprints or drawings in the windows. The more you try to connect with them, the more you'll experience them there as well. Our homes are not just our homes, they're the homes to many, many beside us, many living with us and around us. Those who have followed us from childhood, those who have followed our families. Many of them have lived with our families for year after year after year, coming to pass down through the lineage and living with, the children that they choose to live with. So they've been around a long time. They've been right beside us, and there's nothing to fear. They're always there. Almost always something is there, and it's this idea that they can see us and they're not harming us. They're showing us love. They're letting us live the way we wish to live, even when we're messy. Even the ones that don't like when we're messy, they understand when we're messy. They understand when we're creating a space that they might not like or listening to music they might not like. But if you have those conversations and you begin asking those things, they'll even guide you to music they like. You'll hear the feeling of, I don't like that, I like this. You might hear and experience that that thought, that knowing, that sound, or even hear their voice beside you. They'll leave you signs of different things. If you have offerings out, they'll leave you signs, the offerings being taken, being used, being uh, appreciated. They'll work with you in ways you can understand. The key is to start working with them so they understand you are trying to work with them as well. So let's get into the next video and I'll talk about some experiences I've had. Uh, and then for this week's homework, remember to create an offering space for inside of your home if you haven't already. And then there will be a short meditation to help you connect to the house fairies around you. Much love and gratitude, everybody.